Does anyone have a question?
Stuart, this is Jan.
Yes,
That was so powerful. And I'm and it and I'm wondering if you could talk about how the practice is evolving or changing.
I didn't get the last part of that.
I wonder if you can talk about how the practice is evolving or changing for you. And I don't know if you can. I just
I don't know if I can either. I mean, look, half the time I don't recognize myself from day to day. There's so many changes going on. Getting quieter inside me, it's getting more relaxed inside me, less imposing, more open to listening to other people. I mean, the whole energy is just, going through an amazing transformation. I love it. I've been wanting that kind of transformation for years. And it's a gradual process that takes place, but it fills me with a lot of gratitude. And yeah, it's not easy. I mean, last weekend was, oh my God, I'm still recovering from last weekend. It was so powerful, and then after all those classes and Monday and Tuesday and on Wednesday, I felt like I stepped off a cliff. There was nothing to do. You know? I mean, it's very interesting. But there is plenty to do, and I just have to understand how important it is to become nothing. Less is more. We live in a society where more is better. In a spiritual world, in a spiritual life, less ego, less mind, less charisma, less self-importance, of an egotistical nature is really important because the less there is of one interfering with the energy of God, the higher level of wisdom is going to flow through you. The works are no longer being dammed up by one's ego, by one knowing better than everyone else, the universe, God, you know. And this is the kind of thing that's been happening to me over the last couple of years. And I'm very grateful for it, because, when I was younger, I was really full of myself. I knew better than everybody. And I was a taskmaster. I really, when I ran that ashram in Texas, I mean, I, God bless the people. It was amazing the amount of work and what I demanded from people. Now I demand it in a different way. I mean, there isn't that same environment, so it's demanded of people really working on themselves, getting deeper inside, growing spiritually, asking, for a depth of inner commitment that's truly out of the ordinary. And the purpose of being here, if not, I wouldn't understand why anybody would be here and sit through these classes if they didn't want a spiritual life. And if you want the spiritual life, you have to arrive at that place inside where less is more, the less ego, the less personality, the less self-importance, the less charisma, the less we are pushing our way through life, and the more that we allowing the universe to guide us, God to guide us, Spirit to guide us, because we're no longer interfering with the process. That to me is surrender, not giving up, but letting go of everything that interferes with the process. And human beings are full of a lot of stuff that interferes with the process. Emotions, mind, sexual energy, insecurity, guilt, fear. I mean, there's a laundry list of words that define the human condition. And the less of it there is in us, the more there'll be of spirit, wisdom, higher energy guiding our lives. The quieter we'll become, the more at peace we'll be with the world and with ourselves. Now, the less to become more, we have to transform the more. You know, we have to break it down and transform it into less. That's the work. And again, I know this doesn't sit well with the way most people are taught in our modern age. We're taught more is better. Push your way through life. Doesn't matter who you hurt and what you do to the world as long as you succeed. We're taught for this from the earliest ages. And it freaks a lot of people out that they cannot communicate in a loving, compassionate way with other human beings. So the whole evolution of less being more enables us to do that, to bow to life. And as I say all the time, the real guru is not Swami, this one, and Stuart. And, the real guru is life. That is the real guru. And you cannot sit in front of life if you know more than life. And the whole thing is really a conundrum. I mean, how can anybody know more than life? And yes, there have been major changes inside me because these are the kind of things that guide my life now. Not being a teacher, not being important, not having a group of people staring at me. I mean, it's life. It's being here to do one thing. That is myself to get stronger so I can continue to sit in front of life and to help everyone that comes here build a system inside in which they can open and embrace the teacher, the real teacher, life. Now, this only started happening maybe a few years ago. But man, it is probably one of the best things that's ever happened to me. And it's not easy. There's still rent to be paid, and you still have to deal with Caesar. And Caesar doesn't understand less is more. Caesar, more is more. How much can they conquer? How much can they extract out of the world before they drop dead? I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous. But that doesn't mean one has to get swept away in it. You can take care of Caesar and not get eaten up by Caesar. I mean, it's like, what Christ said, give to God what is God and give to Caesar what is Caesar's. And in dealing with Caesar, deal with Caesar with an open heart, with love. So yes, I've gone through a major transformation in my life. And I am just infinitely grateful. Does anyone else have a question?
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome. I hope it's clear what I'm talking about, you know. And I really hope and pray that each and every one of you are here for a singular purpose, and that's to have a spiritual and to deal with this kind of insane objective world we have to deal with. We need energy. Where are you going to get the energy? It has to come from a place that's pure, that's infinite, that's not congested with tension and ego. We have to open to receive it. I always kid around. This is a filling station. You come to fill up your tanks. So don't waste this precious energy. Just use it in your day consciously. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Stuart,
Yes?
um, when we clear all this ego and obstacles from receiving the energy and let it work through us on us, do we or did you recognize that our life is more or less guided, that we have to get out of the way and let life steer us on the path?
You'll have to explain, ask that
Okay.
less
Okay, what I
complicated.
was saying is I'm talking about reaching that level where you're not living from the ego and all of this that we talk about fear. Is it does a does the realization that our life is guided, that the path is laid out for us? I know we have choices, but it's how much, once we remove all these obstacles, how much of life is basically laid out for us.
Look, whether you remove the obstacles or not, Larry, your life is laid out for you. Understand, doing deep inner work and freeing yourself of all those obstacles is your karma. Not doing deep inner work, not freeing yourself of all those obstacles is also your karma. So there's a choice, either or. You know, that guy Kierkegaard wrote a book called Either Or, which I read 100 times, I never quite understood what he was writing about. But I think this is what he was writing about. Whatever you choose and whatever you do in your life, it's your karma. Now, human beings differ from animals because we really have choice. We can make choices about the way we want to live. And once you get free of one strata of stuff, there's always 15 stratas below it that you need to get free of. And as long as you're alive here, there's always going to be problems and things you got to work through, tensions. There's no perfection. God is perfect. The rest of us live in a world of imperfection. We're moving closer to perfection. You know, it's like, what's his name? Pushing that ball up a mountain, never quite gets to the top. Or who, I forgot his name. You know, it's a Greek myth. You know, anyway, it's the same thing. Understand? But in growing and moving towards the top and working on yourself, you understand? You get closer and closer to that perfection. You build a system inside that allows wisdom to enter you, that allows spirit to enter you, that enables you to consciously use the spirit to guide your life. Instead of being plagued with neurosis and anxiety and fear and insecurity and, you know, all the other 52 deadly sins that people are plagued with, you know, that keep them from ever growing. So the more you grow, the more of that energy can flow through you and guide your life. It'll never be perfect. It can't be perfect. Perfection is in the realm of the gods and God. It's not on the earth. There's no perfection here. But perfection, and this might sound weird to you all, is part of, but imperfection is part of perfection. We need it to remind us that we have to work on ourselves every day. So don't complain about it. Be grateful for your imperfections. Without them, you'd never do anything about yourself. And that's a very high state of living where one can be grateful for the things wrong and then do something to fix them. And the interesting thing about this, you climb a mountain, discover you're standing on an anthill. And you look up and there's another mountain that has to be climbed. You climb that mountain and you're standing on an anthill a little higher. And there's another mountain. And life is that way. And it makes life an extraordinary, adventure. We're exploring the universe. And we're using the problems, things wrong with us, as a reminder we haven't arrived yet. We have to continue to grow. I know this sounds a little bit like a paradox, but it's really not, The imperfections are part of perfection. They really are. We need them. Most people would do nothing about themselves if they didn't have a few problems. I mean, when I lived in Texas, one of the scariest things, I used to go around to little towns. I had kind of a junk antique store I was running, and I would go buy things in little junk shops, and I would see these guys sitting on porches, and spending all their time maybe swatting a fly. And it used to say, I mean, it was, to me, reminded me, Stuart, you have a lot of work to do on you. You don't want to grow up and wind up sitting on a porch swatting a fly. That's your imperfection, having to kill a fly because it's bothering you. I would have preferred to have big imperfections, big tests, things that really demand of me as a human being. And of course, I learned that from my teacher. I used to see him take these things on himself, and he used to say, I need this to grow. So remember it, imperfection is a very important part of perfection. And then you can accept your imperfections and you don't beat yourself up because you made a mistake. You can listen to other people without getting upset. And you spend your life growing. Every day is an opportunity to develop the chakra system, to grow, to continue to open the higher energy. It's an opportunity, in which less becomes more. The less of us, the more there is of spiritual energy that can guide our lives. Does anyone else have a question? Would like to?
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome. I mean, I honestly gave up 40 years ago trying to figure out what this world is all about. I just gave it up. I said, no, Stuart, whatever it is, just use it to grow in your life. You don't have to understand it. You don't have to figure it out. It doesn't have to make any sense because nothing really makes any sense anyway. just use it to grow and get closer to God and open and ultimately to get the one place that needs to be open, and that's the heart. God is love. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay, if there are no more questions, there's going to be another retreat coming up in December. I suggest if people can make it, make it. It's very important. I also suggest that if you come from out of town, try to spend a few extra days because there are classes after and before the retreat, and just try to get the most you possibly can out of the situation. And, I'm looking forward to it. It's just a blessing to be able to do that. It's a lot of work, but God, it's truly wonderful work. Okay, if there are no more questions, God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you for your great questions today. And thank you for, making it possible for me to grow in my life. So God bless you. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody on Sunday. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. And God bless you too.